Anybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was just testing. Good morning, everyone. You're all getting here a little early.
How is everybody doing today?
I'm happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise, depending on your definition of wealthy.
Well, I'll settle for wise in the fact that you're speaking present. So I think that works out really good for me.
And you notice the bridge behind me. I did just come from San Francisco yesterday.
Did you have a nice trip?
It was glorious,
Oh, good.
absolutely glorious.
Sarah, I was going to mention to you, though, it was too big of a meeting to do that. But we have our education meeting next week or next month, but we don't already have planned for the June. Because you guys plan 2 months.
Right.
One
So
of
your
the things that
question is,
One of the things that we have not done is
uh-huh.
we need to look at potlucks for the summer. That might be a good meeting to talk about that.
Oh,
Whose places to go out to?
oh, that. Is that,
We usually do.
is that
June.
hospitality's job, really?
Well, that's been more of a, that's really fell under, it really has fallen under the education committee. I mean, we've talked about it. The first one typically is there at the dog building. And the last one is in my place. So you just only have July and August to worry about. So, but I think getting this, I mean, it's something we talked about.
That's fine. We can meet and it will be a short meeting, but we can talk about that. How's that?
It sounds good.
So Marsha, when you walk away, you lose your head.
Well,
and you look like you're walking on water, which you do. You do walk on water.
It's not the first time I've lost my head.
No, me neither.
I was just getting my spritzer for when the cat comes up here to bother me so I can get her to get down.
You know, we were talking in a meeting this morning about a spritzer. Somebody was using it to spray their starts. Unfortunately, they grabbed the spritzer that had 70% alcohol in it.
Oh yeah.
Which doesn't do really good on starts. So they washed them off and they came through okay. But yeah, that was not quite what they had planned. I
just have water in mine.
Okay. I have to ask Gail Reed. Gail, is that you from Cowles County?
Don't know.
She's not answered. I know a Gail Reed, but I don't know if that's her. Maybe it's not.
She's muted.
Yeah. I see Charlene has joined us, which is great. and several others,
Oh, yeah.
and the list is growing.
Well, I hope it doesn't grow exceedingly, or else I will feel like I am really put on the spot.
We
It'll
wouldn't do
be-
that to you.
It'll be awesome.
Totally.
Well, it's either going to be too short or too long, so we'll just have to figure it out as we go.
Well, you know, it won't be too long because I'll just hit the end button for everybody and that'll take care of it. So don't worry about that.
Oh, okay.
Phenomenal cosmic power.
Yeah, that reminds me of the Gong show, you know. So if you gong me, I'll just leave.
No, I promise we won't do that. So.
And I talked to Phelan yesterday. And he said that we could close probably 11 days after.
I don't think they want everybody to know that.
She muted. Thank you. Or you muted her.
I did. Yeah.
Do you?
Recording in progress.
So we hope everybody's having a great morning. I guess I could show my picture.
Okay.
There we
Put
go.
that in.
We hope everybody's having a good morning. When I walked in this morning, it was pouring down rain, and now let's go a little more blue light.
Yes,
Like out there, so.
indeed.
Well, you know what they
Charmaine.
say about the weather in Washington. If you don't like it, stick around 5 minutes. It'll change.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
really true. That's really true. And we will, everybody's probably going, okay, what are these people talking about? And you'll have to excuse us this morning, but we will be addressing blueberries here in about 3 minutes. So,
Right.
Blueberries, my favorite fruit.
Huh.
I have to say that I had one of the master gardeners gave me a small jar of blueberry jam. And I don't know if I've ever had blueberry jam before, but oh my gosh. I wish it would have been a big jar. It was very good. It didn't last very long, but it was very, very good.
I have to hide mine, or else my husband eats it all.
Okay, and we're slowly growing in numbers. Glad all of you could make it. I see another master gardener. Of course, I see a lot of master gardeners, but I see one local master gardener. I'm always.
So I have some handouts I could give. I was waiting until most everybody is here, because if I put it in the chat for them to be able to download, if they come in afterwards, it won't be there. They won't see it.
Okay.
If you put it in the chat, I can copy it onto my little thing that I keep putting in, and it will just be one of the things. And so I can keep putting it in, like put it in at the end, so everybody who just signed on during, they will get it. So go ahead and put it in,
Okay.
and
There's 3.
okay.
Just a minute here. File.
Want to that screen?
You want me to let me move it over here?
Sort of whichever is easiest.
Okay, I don't.
Hey,
Are
I
you, are
thought
you
12
grouping
o'clock.
them? Yeah, we're up to 24 now.
Yeah.
There is 3. But I was looking for.
Yeah.
I was looking for the little thing that said download. Maybe that's just on their end. I don't know.
If you just get the link, do you have a link to it?
You can't
No,
really
those were-
download to the chat
You
box.
can't put the whole thing on there. You have to have some kind of link to it.
Oh, well,
One of the
according
things
to the Zoom YouTube, it
Here we
says
go.
that you can put it in the
Great. Try that. Let's see
chat.
if I can
Well,
find it. Is it
if,
okay?
if you
I
can't,
just put it in
Marsha,
the chat.
if you can't do that, send me the 3 articles and I will allow people to email me after the program and I'll send them to them.
Let's just do that too.
So,
So do you see them? If you click on
Think
any
they're
of
both
them,
on
do you
full
see
on it?
them?
Or you think it won't come off because of the nails?
Dropbox.
so
No.
let's go ahead and get started. I apologize to everybody. Marsha had some handouts, our speaker, and we're trying to work through this. I think probably what's going to happen is she is going to email me and I would be happy to email the handouts to you. So that means you need to send me an email. And if you're looking at the screen,
If you happen to want them.
yeah, GaryF@wsu.edu. Email me and just say Blueberry handouts. That's all I need. And I will be happy to send them back to you. That'll make it easy. So with that, welcome today. I'm glad you could all make it. The numbers continue to grow and we're excited to see you. My name is Gary Fredericks and I'm with WSU Extension here in Cowlitz County. We're going to go ahead and look at blueberries today, but we have a number of talks. We've had some past ones and some future ones. If you like the connection to any of those, again, get a hold of me at garyf@wsu.edu. And if you'd like the handouts, again, same thing. Programs coming up tonight, managing the greenhouse, and that's if you're in Cowlitz County. You can sign up for that. It's at 6 o'clock tonight. Next week is raspberries and then growing vegetables. And April, you can see the talks coming up. Some really interesting ones that and some great speakers too that I think are going to make for a nice program. So excited about what's happening with all this. So with that, I am gonna stop sharing
There it is.
and let Marsha go ahead and share.
Okay, I just need to find it.
But while she's looking at that, I just put into the chat Gary's email. So if you need to copy and paste that somewhere, that'd be useful. Also a link to our webpage and a link to a survey that we love it when people fill out and give us some feedback on this talk or suggestions for others. So I will also put that at the end. And so if you forget to do it, I will share it later.
Okay,
Thank you.
I went on share.
You're doing fine. All you have to do is just put that on
Full screen.
slide mode.
Slideshow.
And it's there. I'm not, oh, we're seeing the whole combination. We're not seeing it take up the big screen. We see what you see.
Well,
So
let's
go
see
back
here.
to what you were on before, whatever you just did. And it says slideshow up, go to your left, up, nope, up, getting
Up.
closer, down, to the right,
Slideshow.
stop. There you go. Try that.
And
From
then-
beginning.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's still
And
showing
it's
the
still showing
notes.
notes.
It's still showing notes.
Let's see. Display settings. See that at the top? We're up at the very top. Go more to your left. Yeah, that's it. See if it. There you go. Try that. There you go.
Okay. Now
Okay,
I have
so-
the notes on my other screen and not on this one, so that's good.
Okay.
So I'm going to introduce Marsha. Marsha Tisdale is one of our master gardeners. We are delighted to have her speak today. I know that she loves blueberries. She was talking about hiding her jam from her husband, but she comes with knowledge and experience, and we're pleased to have her. So, Marsha, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Blueberries with your host, Marsha Tisdale. Yes. We shall cover, I'm going to have an introduction, but we'll talk about why we should even consider blueberries, varieties, quick facts, planting tips, care and maintenance, and then we'll conclude somewhere between now and then. Okay, so the definition of a berry is that they're simple fruits. They stem from one flower with one ovary and typically have several seeds. Blueberries are true berries. Strawberries are not. However, our taste buds don't care about the definition. So whether it's a berry or not, we like them, right? Okay, why should we eat blueberries? They're healthy. They have antioxidants. They have a high concentration of vitamins and minerals. They build your immunity. They promote oxygen in the blood, prevents infections. They're healthy for your heart. They're also delicious. We can put them in pies and cakes and cobblers and smoothies, and we can put them in yogurt, or we can just eat them by themselves. They're also good at a good plant to plant. Depending on the cultivar and the location, they're relatively easy to grow. They're ornamental. They have beautiful flowers, and then they have pretty fall foliage as well. If you plant them with other plants that are like-minded, in other words, they like the same kind of acidity in the soil, around azaleas, rhododendrons, camellias, or other fruits that like that, it creates a landscape that you can be proud of. They can be planted individually or in groups. However, even though blueberries are often self-pollinating or that's not the right word. It's more advisable to have two or more varieties so that or cultivars so that they can pollinate well. And the honeybee, the mason bee, even the bumblebee are good pollinators. They also can be planted in pots and do well there, depending on what kind of variety it is. They're long-lived, bearing fruit for 40, 50, even more years. The plants that I planted last year will probably outlive me. We have the low bush, the northern high bush, the southern high bush, the rabbit eye, and the half high. The rabbit eye is interesting because it's not blue. It's a blueberry, but it's not blue. It's pink. So the low bush are small, thus the word low in the word low bush. They may not get any bigger than 2 feet tall. Now, they're adapted to cooler climates such as zones 3 to 7. And in the resources, we have a list. One of the things on there is the USDA zones, and you can put in your zip code or any zip code in the United States, and it will tell you what zone it's in. The northern high bush is a medium to large size shrub. It could reach up to 12 feet tall. And it does actually very well here in the Pacific Northwest. The southern high bush doesn't do as well in the Pacific Northwest, at least not on the western side. They're between 2 and 4 feet tall. They're adapted more to warmer climates, thus not really suitable for Western Washington. And their hardiness is zones 7 through 10. The rabbit eye can get between 6 and 10 feet, hardiness zones 7 to 9, which is usually the central and southeastern parts of the United States. And then we have the hybrid half high. They're kind of in between. They stay small to medium, growing 3 to 4 feet tall. Blueberry cultivars in the Pacific Northwest. Every cultivar has somewhat of a different flavor. And I suppose if you were a blueberry connoisseur, then you would be able to tell what kind it was based on the taste. But it's not, it's not like you don't have blueberry experts like you have wine experts. So, I'm not sure people can do that. The Spartan has a very good flavor, and it's an earlier crop. The blue crop is kind of medium, but it's easier to grow, and it's good for cold climates. Then there's the mini blues, which are smaller, but they're actually sweeter than some of the other cultivars. I haven't tried growing the Chandler, but I'm told that it's more difficult to prune, more difficult to grow, and not as vigorous, especially in this area. The Legacy, I've planted Legacies, and they're well adapted to the area. And they also will give you almost double the yield of many other cultivars. And here's some pictures of those that we talked about. I know you can't hardly tell the difference between Duke and Blue Crop in these pictures. The northern high bush is the most common, both in the world and in the Pacific Northwest. It can stand up against our winters. It's not drought tolerant, so if you're in a place where there's little rain, then you do have to water more. It is productive, and it does well in home gardens. Harvest dates vary between cultivars, but they really are blooming one after another between the early, the mid, and the late. If you plant different varieties and you plant, a couple from the early, a couple from the middle, and a couple from the end, then you pretty much have blueberries throughout the growing season. The early season, Duke and Spartan; late season, Elliott, Jersey, Ozark Blue. Legacy has a particularly long bloom period, so that actually lasts longer. And then here's a table that shows when they start and stop. And you can see going from, can you see my arrow? It starts up here with the earlier ones, and you can see that they overlap as they go down to the later ones.
We can see your arrow.
Oh, okay.
Just let you know.
Thank you. So blueberries need full sun, at least 6 hours of sun. They require acidic soil between 4.5 and 5.5. It is best to have 2 or more varieties or cultivars for pollination. And in the first couple of years, you're not going to see the big production and harvest as you will after 5 years. It reaches the bushes reach their full size between 8 and 10 years. And but it's important to prune, and it's important to know how to prune, and it's important to know what to prune, and that's a whole nother story. So we're going to talk about soil and sun exposure, and a little bit about timing and depth and spacing, and more about water and mulching. So, like I said, it needs to be between 4.5 and 5.5. And it needs good organic matter. And the purpose of that is that it improves drainage and it feeds the plant. The blueberries are very sensitive to wet soil, so they need to be damped but not flooded. It is a good idea to test the soil 6 months before planting, and typically the pH will be too high, and so you need to um, what's the word? Not augment, but uh, I've lost the word. So anyway, you need to, if you're going to change the pH, you need to do that in advance. In the fall, you can put in sulfur to achieve the target. It's not necessarily get down to the 4.5, but at least down to the 5.5, which is the higher end of that acidic range prior to planting. In the spring, you incorporate organic matter, which is appropriate. In other words, what would not be appropriate would be manures or animal waste, or which is the same thing, plant-based compost. The pH is too high. Um, it's not conducive for blueberries. But the woody materials, woody sawdust, bark, not too big of chunks, those not only help the plants um, to uh, to receive what they need to receive, but they also help with drainage so that that water can go through. Now, this I stuck in here, but there's different kinds of tests, and they have different types of numbers on them. So if you're interested in that, I really don't have a great background in this kind of, in the testing. But anyway, it's something that you can look up if you're interested in. The blueberries need full sun. They require 6 or more hours of direct sunlight per day. It's usually best to plant in fall or early spring. Growing seasons are June through August in Oregon, late June or early July through September in Washington. So Washington is a little bit later than Oregon. Don't plant them too deeply. The root ball should be just below the surface. So dig holes about 20 inches deep and 18 inches wide. Basically, I've heard the expression a $5 hole for a $1 plant. Blueberries can be planted 2 to 2.5 feet apart. You can put them closer together, or farther together, depending on whether you want solid hedge rows or if you want them spaced. And it also depends on what system you have for mulching and going between them and weeding and that sort of thing. Blueberries are not very competitive against weeds, and so it's important to make sure that you keep your weeds out. Blueberries easily suffer from waterlogging. So if you look at your blueberries and the leaves are yellowing, and the growth is slowed down, and this is a sign of overwatering. So this says 1 inch per 4 inches per week during 1 inch per growing season and 4 inches per during fruit ripening. It kind of equates to like if you don't have an irrigation system of doing like 1 to 2 gallons of water, and this is of course in the Pacific Northwest, especially in this area, we have a lot of rain, so we just kind of have to keep an eye on it as to whether it actually needs more water or not. Mulch should be loose so that water can drain through pine needles, wood chips, or bark mulch, but you should not put dyed or synthetic mulches on them. And you spread them around the plants 4 to 6 inches, but don't pile it up against the stem. And then you need to refreshen that each year. Care and maintenance includes maintaining your soil pH, having consistent moisture. You need to control the weeds, as I mentioned before, and plant them with plants that like the same things. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about fertilization, pruning, and harvesting. The main nutrients for fertilization is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Nitrogen greens up the plants, phosphorus helps produce the blooms, and then the potassium is a little bit like what I think of chocolate. It just helps promote all around well-being. But don't give chocolate to your plants. Just eat the chocolate and give them potassium. Organic fertilizers are the kind that are natural, and they break down to feed the microorganism, and then they finally get back to the plants. Now, in this example, I mean, they mention manure, but that's not what you want to put on blueberries. So you would move to the cottonseed or something like that. Inorganic, if I could speak, inorganic fertilizers are man-made products, and they feed the plant directly, and they have a higher nutrient content. So it is a personal choice as to what kind of fertilizer that you're going to use. You just need to always follow the directions. I lost it here for a moment. Okay, there we go. So one of the things about fertilization of blueberries is it depends on the age of the plant. So as the plant gets older, it you put more sulfate on it, and whatever the suggestion is for the year, you need to divide it by 3, and you do a third in late April, a third in late May, and a third in late June. Once they get up to 15 or 20 pounds of fruit per year, they really may need less supplemental fertilizer. Once the berries become blue, they will become bigger over a few days, and so you might want to wait a day or two after they first turn blue, or maybe more than that. You pick the fruit every 5 days, and then I don't know, this is always a bugaboo, is the predators, the birds, the squirrels, the deer, the deer will eat them down to the stub, so if you have deer, you might want to consider having your blueberry plants in an area that has a 6-foot fence that the deer can't see through. They're less likely to jump it if they can't see what's on the other side. But even if they have little cages or if they have netting, well, netting actually helps for keep them away from the birds because the birds will demolish them. The fruit does store well in the fridge, and what you're aiming for is 10 to 20 pounds of fruit per bush over the season. And of course, that depends on which cultivar and where it's planted and how much sun it gets and whether or not the soil condition is correct. I think this is going to be too early. We could have an question and answer period though. Okay, blueberry is a true berry. A northern high bush grows best here. They're delicious and healthy. They're attractive. They're easy to grow, but they do need care. You need to have proper watering, fertilization, and pruning. The harvest, though, is worth the work. And my sources came from here, and that's one of the handouts that has the actual address for these sources. Let me unshare. How do I unshare? Is anybody there? Did I put everybody to sleep?
No, you didn't put everybody to sleep.
Here.
You did unshare.
I did unshare. Okay.
I see a picture of mountains and your screen on your desktop.
Well, I did not unshare though, then.
Oh,
How
you
do
did
We
not
can take care of
unshare.
that.
There you go.
So,
There, am I right?
yes.
Can you just
Now,
see me and the bridge behind me?
Yep. Did you want to go through the questions you want me to, or were you going through, or?
Let me see, are they on the chat?
Yes.
Okay, let's look and see where. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
One of these says, can you talk more about fertilizing and general fertilizing rules?
General fertilizing rules. So are you talking about what specific kinds of fertilizers, or are you talking about when to fertilize or how much to fertilize?
Why don't you do both? How's that for being, because
Okay.
I'm not sure from the question.
Okay. Let me go to where is that?
So you have an appointment, is it today, you said?
Yep.
At what time? 1:30?
Leaving at 1.
Ah,
I'm trying to find my link.
While you're waiting, I put in a picture of a blueberry enclosure that we built on my farm. So if you want to look at the chat, it's pretty spectacular. My sister and my brother-in-law and I built this thing. But if you ever wanted the ultimate blueberry enclosure, this is pretty much it. And while we're waiting, I also have put into this the link to our form, which has 8 quick questions. A lot of them are click and answer. And it also has Gary's email. So if you want the Blueberry handouts, you could email him. So if you want to just copy and paste that onto a document, that would be fabulous. And that'd be useful to you.
I see that Nancy says blood meal is a good fertilizer and helps repel deer. True.
Okay, so are we talking about the types of things that are in the fertilizer, what the numbers
It
mean?
just says,
I-
tell us more about fertilizing the plants. So,
Okay, so when you have when you get the fertilizer and it has on there numbers, like it will say 5, 10, 10 or 16, 16, 16 or whatever it says. Basically, it's in the order of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And basically for blueberries, nitrogen is basically the important factor there. And you can actually even have one that's just doesn't have the other two. Or you could have a lower amount of the other two. So we need to, when you start out and you plant, you need to avoid the fertilizer for about 1 year. Because if you put fertilizer on them right away, you could burn the developing root system. You also need to let them expand in the soil. When fertilizing, keep the fertilizer 2 inches away from the crown and spread around the whole diameter of the bush. If you use sawdust as a mulch, then you need to use a higher nitrogen to prevent leaf yellowing. If leaves start to brown and then you need to cut back on the fertilizer. You can dissolve fertilizer such as ammonium sulfate into a gallon of water. And then, or you can just apply granules and then water afterwards. I just don't know what they're trying to ask for here.
I think it's just general fertilizing rules, and I think you've gone through some of those.
Okay. What's another question?
What about composted manure? Use of it?
That's not as advised because that's animal product and it's better to do the woody type of stuff around blueberries.
Okay. Here's somebody has an interesting. They used a perimeter fence to keep the deer out, which worked, but they also found out that raccoons come in, and raccoons ate a lot of their blueberries. Can you make some recommendations there about proofing for raccoons?
That's interesting. I don't have any raccoons here. Anybody else have some ideas about raccoons?
Usually raccoons are something that, you know, they're not going to tend to climb the fence. So going high is not usually a problem. It's going low. And if
Yeah,
there's a way of them getting under the fence, they'll do
Yeah,
it.
it's we have a perimeter fence, but we have the blueberries are covered with we have some poles with the bird netting, which is staked into the ground, but the raccoons can get underneath wiggle their way in there, and they're so sneaky.
They are, and they have little hands, you know, and they can lift.
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you about
I
raccoons.
was wondering how Sarah deals with that with her nice little setup.
It's, yeah, with blueberries, it's the only thing you can do is go low. And if you can't get under, you know, just kind of a general perimeter fence and gone low, otherwise they're going to find a way, and they're pretty tenacious. Sarah,
Would
did you have
netting
something?
I
work?
mine
Like we
the thing
use
about
on
my
blueberries?
netting is that we had some what's called deer netting, which is kind of rubbery and stiff, and we just and it's not cheap, but we just happened to have a lot of it because we used to use it at my dad's house, and he had a huge yard and he put it all around it. So we put that to use, and then we put bird netting over it so that it gave it some structure, and basically we buried the bottom edge a little. And
Okay,
so far,
yeah.
as far as I know, the raccoons haven't worked their way in there.
And then you have the gate to get in. That's the one thing we
A
don't have is
human
the gate.
gate, yes,
Yeah,
yes, like
okay.
well-built human gate with
Yeah,
a
okay.
latch that
I will-
latches.
I will share that with my husband. Thank
Gary?
you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Hey,
Good
Gary,
art.
you can also use chicken wire around the perimeter.
Yeah. Good point. And chicken wire help. And it says, is there a way to keep deer away from the, without fencing? Pretty tough. I mean, you can use some of the
No.
blood meals and different things like that, but as soon as it rains, it's gonna wash all those off. And they'll be back. So unless you're using
Well-
some kind of fencing,
Yeah, there's a variety of different kinds of fencing. I mean, I have two sets. On one side of my house, I have the 6-foot fencing and I have most things in there. But I did plant some elderberries down at the foot of my property. And those, my son built little individual fences, which only work for a certain amount of time because as the plants get bigger, then you either have to expand the fencing, or you have to take it off. And if you take it off, the chances are the deer is going to get it then. But you have to get it to the point where the plant is big enough to self-sustain for a while. The only thing is that deer can really demolish down to the roots.
okay. Where can you buy plants at? Is one of the
You know,
questions.
it's interesting. You should not buy plants, blueberry plants, at Safeway. I was walking past Safeway last growing season, and I looked at all these blueberry plants, and every single one of them were ones that should be in other parts of the country. They were not um, northern high bush. They were so I went up to them and I said, hey, these plants are not suggested for this area. And the guy just told me, oh, I don't know. I just stock them. I don't know anything about them. So it's a good idea to go someplace that they actually know something about it. So
Yeah, probably some of the nurseries and that where they're a little more experienced would be what you're looking for. One of the questions talks about pruning. So Marsha, what kind of information, just going over the pruning part again would be good.
okay, let me go to.
And as we're doing that, those people that wanted the handouts, send me an email at Gary F, and it's in the chat box, garyf@wsu.edu, and just say blueberry handouts, and I'll send those to you. But you have to send an email. Otherwise, I just know you as Nancy and Susan and Deanna and Sherry and some of those, but I don't have any way to get you anything. So
Okay,
email me and I'd be happy to do that. Go ahead, Marsha.
Okay, talking about pruning, first of all, you need to look at anything that happens to be, that looks like it's dead wood or diseased anyway, and you remove those first. Then you're going to look at the plants, and you have the straight whips or the stalks that are straight up, and then you have the lateral ones that are sticking out. And in a bush, you need to have it opened up in the air, in the inside, so that it is, that there's more air and more sunlight. You remove any twiggy growth, the short laterals that are just taking up space, and leave the longer ones. As you watch your plants and you find that there are some branches that are unproductive and maybe older, so you remove the older canes that as near to the root or the crown or the bottom, cutting back to the new growth. And then also you're pruning to kind of keep that, what size you want that to stay. You don't want to prune in a place that's going to not allow it to grow, but you want to prune it. I've got it, the vision in my mind, but it's hard to come out with the words. When you're pruning it, and when you look at the little buds, when you first get a plant or a stalk, the fatter one at the top are the flower ones, and before you plant, you need to take those off, so that it will flower and produce, rather than just do vegetative stock. Let's see, what else can I say about pruning? Make sure that you prune while the plants are dormant. Like I said, you remove all the flower buds prior to the first growing season. That's all I can think of. Prune a weak plant before more than a strong plant. If the plant is already strong, you don't need to prune it as much. Okay.
So, Marsha,
Yes.
one of the things that I was taught is about once a year at this time of year before they start blooming to go through and take out the oldest, gnarliest chunk, just to open it up and to give the other ones a little more push to grow. Have you ever heard about that?
Yes. I mean, that was one of the things that I passed over.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I can't seem
I
to
think
find
that's
the
most of the questions, the ones that it kind of filtered out. There was a lot of answers and questions. If somebody has a question, could they go ahead and just blurt it right out, please?
Oh, I like that. It says here, blueberry plants are available in Chehalis at Cajas and at Pioneer West. Somebody posted that. That's good.
And Burnt Ridge Nursery in Onalaska too.
I bought mine at Sagala's years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. The slide that had the cultivars, list of cultivars, is that part of the handouts you're sending us, Gary?
I've got 3 handouts. One that has the cultivars and when their growing season are. One about pruning blueberries, And then the last one is just a list of resources, which has a lot of other websites that you can look at to get more information.
And those are what Gary's going to send us when we email him?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Thank
going to
you.
email it to him.
Perfect, thank you.
Marsha's gonna send it to me after the program and I'll send them to you this afternoon.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Other questions?
What I want to know from everybody is what is the most unusual recipe that you have used blueberries for?
Oh.
Anybody want to throw something in? Something that I haven't thought of making? No?
Salsa?
We tried adding
Salsa.
some to borscht.
Oh, that is strange.
Okay.
How
Chutney?
did that turn out?
A very
Brown.
pretty color.
Yeah.
It was an experiment in flavor.
I see. So did you like it or not?
I'm not going to make it again.
Okay, that gives me the answer.
I've dried them and then used them in like oatmeal in the morning. It's a lot of work for not, they really shrivel up.
I just put
I
the
have a
plain
blueberry facial mask.
You do?
That's one of the answers. So that would have to
Okay,
be, yep.
That wins.
Do you look like a Smurf afterwards?
I'm thinking if they did, they didn't do it again.
She also said she uses chutneys. Chutneys is like a, not quite a salsa. It's a chutney.
So, okay. Anything else from anybody? I'll give it the 5-second rule. And thank our speaker for all the information. Marsha, it was wonderful. We really appreciate you spending the time and providing the resources too. That helps. Anything else from anybody? Any other questions or comments?
Can you grow blueberries from seed? Zucchini blueberry cake with cream cheese icing. Well, anything with cream cheese icing is fantastic.
I want that recipe.
I do too.
So send it to
Something that uses up zucchini and massive blueberries.
So,
Okay.
blueberries from seed. I would assume that you can do it, but it would take a while.
Yeah. That would be a hobby experiment. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
for, yeah.
And making sure that it grows true. So that would be some of the other part. Whereas buying them, you would know exactly what you're getting. Anything else?
Thank you very much. Growing blueberries in Pacific County for many years. Always have to learn more about them. Pacific County is, I would think, the ultimate perfect place for blueberries. That's just, it's great. It's not always super hot. It's great.
Okay, I think I have made enough requests. I'm gonna let everybody go and enjoy. Well, I've got a blue sky behind me, so I'm gonna go.
There's hope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let everybody enjoy it. Hopefully you have a blue sky and we'll see you back in a week. Again, Marsha, thank you for a great presentation. Everybody take care and enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.